I never thought I'd say this, but I've been watching Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and honestly, it's great. I mean, it feels like Star Wars is back. But as refreshing as this project has been, there's this fundamental question which I think has been looming over the show and the franchise as a whole. Is it too little, too late? Is Star Wars already dead? Look, I know everybody has been talking about Skeleton Crew, but if I look around the internet at the comments, at the reviews, at all the conversation, I feel like nobody is actually watching the show. So I did, not just to give it the critical time of day, but because in watching the first few episodes, I was genuinely enjoying myself. I mean, it's a compelling show. Just a fun adventure about spaceships and pirates and buried treasure. And the 11-year-old in me, hell, the 23-year-old in me, I loved that. Sure, it borrowed heavily from classic 80s films, but what's wrong with that? I mean, it feels like a project that George Lucas would have greenlit back in the day. As expected, there was a moment or two of heavy-handed Disney messaging, and I think the ending was definitely abrupt, but in comparison to things that have come before, in comparison to things like Star Wars Acolyte, it was awesome. It was the breath of fresh air that this franchise needed, and what I've always wanted to see out of Star Wars for the past 12 years. Just good, clean, fun entertainment. And yet, no one is watching. According to numbers published by the Nielsen rating system this past week, it's actually the lowest viewed piece of Star Wars content to date. Because as enjoyable as it may be, this show wasn't released in a vacuum. And over the course of the last 12 years, even the last 12 months, Disney has ignored and harassed its fans instead of listening to them. And if the actors, studios, or creators blame the fans every time a Star Wars project fails, well, people stop caring. You know how they say the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference? Well, I think the opposite of nostalgia is resentment. And among Star Wars fans, I've seen a mix of both. Resentment because of ruined stories and characters, or just plain old indifference. A lack of interest. And it's this indifference which I think has led to the failure of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, a sentiment echoed among the fan base.
You have to understand that this could be a dead brand if you do not change your tune. Stop trying to pander.
Making good art, or even just making good entertainment, is a challenge. And when a franchise starts to fail at both, well, things get messy. It's not a good sign. In fact, sometimes it's a hint at the end to come. Now, I wouldn't be a true fan of Star Wars if I didn't believe in the value of hope and the triumph of good versus evil. You know, I think there is a chance for Star Wars and the Star Wars franchise, but it's going to take a long time. 12 years of maltreatment can't be fixed by a Star Wars branded Stranger Things 8-episode show. But I think there is something to be learned by Skeleton Crew, regardless of its poor reception. In modern Hollywood, everything is a franchise. And I think people are tired of the focus on prequels and sequels and spin-offs, especially when we're talking about Star Wars. Disney has been so concerned with capitalizing on IPs that they haven't been putting in effort into the actual individual stories themselves. The by and large approach has been going wider instead of deeper. Skeleton Crew, on the other hand, is well put together. It knows what it is, it understands its appeal and embraces it. The creators narrowed their scope. They were clearly focused on writing a self-contained, smaller story really well, not forging another weak link in the ponderous chain of Star Wars movies, and I think they achieved their goal. Skeleton Crew may not be a commercial success, but it is a creative one, and I think a sign, perhaps just a glimmer of hope for the franchise as a whole. If Disney will stop and listen to the fans to consider what they want and what Star Wars is to them instead of just ignoring or degrading them, there's a chance. Stop building the franchise and focus on what you have. The vast and incredible world that George Lucas created and the little people and their stories within it. Skeleton Crew is too little, too late. It's not enough to save Star Wars, but I can't help thinking that it's not quite enough to kill it yet, either. But I would love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. I mean, did you watch Skeleton Crew? Did you not? Do you think that there's hope for the Star Wars franchise, or do you think it's totally dead? I mean, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you want to see more Star Wars videos from the channel in the future here? As always, if you do want to vote on future video topics, help support the channel, and just help me kind of keep creating high quality content and more content, please feel free to check out the Patreon linked in the description down below. And as always, no matter what galaxy you're from, keep reading, keep writing, and I will see you all in the next video.